Welcome back to the review realm, everyone. Let's dive right into the album we are going to be talking about with you today. Today, we are speaking about the fourth album from the band known as Loathe, A Stranger to You. And Sam, this band was a stranger to me before I found out about them. I saw them about a year ago, and I was actually impressed um, with this. What is your knowledge about Loathe, if any?
That I was going to be reviewing them with you on this album review. So, this is my very first experience with the band Loathe.
Yes, I saw that they were finally putting out an album this year, and I said, you know what? They were impressive when I saw them with Spirit Box not this past spring, but the spring before. And I said I liked them. They were the second on the bill. I think just before Spirit Box, and I said, all right, I'll give it a chance. They're putting out an album here. Let's see. I knew they were a weird band. I knew that,
Mm-hmm.
and going into it, so I said, okay, but they're heavy, they can bring it. I said, all right, let's listen to the album. And what I'll say about A Stranger to You, Sam, and then I'll let you touch upon it, obviously, as well. Um, I don't like this album at all, really.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. I have a totally different take on this.
Oh,
I I was shocked. I actually cuz I had no idea what I was getting into. So, when I listened to it, yes, there's definitely lulls in this and I'm invested. I want to definitely check out more of their music.
see, I knew they were weird. I knew they went atmospheric and all this different stuff. But also too, I wrote this the third song in. I said, I don't know if I like the production on this. It sounds muffly, and I don't. It might maybe it's just a me thing, but I like when it sounds clean. When it's like has like a crisp to it. But this, it felt like I was watching the Odyssey. Honestly, just if I were to
So,
compare.
so it's interesting. This album is broken down into like two themes here. We got the really heavy section of the album, which I felt like that's where it mostly appears, especially with the bass being up front. I felt like the album was very bassy on the heavy parts. But now I think about it, I remember at one point looking at my volume and be like, hey, I still have it up kind of high. It's not on high, but it's kind of high, and I feel like I can't hear it. Um, I was listening on my computer. I'm gonna give it another go through on my headphones. But I noticed on the heavier songs it was exactly what you were talking about.
And I think that's really what I looked for on this album was the heavier parts, which they're there, but there's not many on this. And um I don't know. We can go. We may have to go song by song on this because, like with many of the albums we've been reviewing, there's no Wikipedia page. You guys are slacking. Like, just make this shit right away so we can so we can do these reviews properly. So we may have
Oh,
to
we
do
can
that,
talk about
Sam.
Wikipedia. Yeah. No, absolutely. But I've been actually taking more notes as we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we can go a quick track by track breakdown. Opening song entrance, not what I was expecting. I was thinking something heavy, and I'm like,
It, it
this
it felt like
sounded
a
like,
it felt like a lo-fi track with lyrics.
or like the opening of like an underground hip hop album.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of guests on this album too. I haven't heard of a single one of them. But this Bucky Sugar was on a couple of them. So this is just one of them.
Yeah, so then we had a block of flats. I really like the opening atmospheric. Wow, that's very repetitive. Very unique because I think it opens very atmospheric, then it got heavy and it kind of went up and down. And I was not expecting it to go like that. And it does that a lot throughout the album. But it's more mellow, I think, than heavy
It's not what I
overall.
expected when it kicked in, and I thought the ending was interesting. I don't know, a lot of these songs seem to follow the same formula, and I think that's what I don't like about it. Is, we get this grandiose piece of atmospheric or heavy or vice versa or whatever, and then the last few moments of the song is like something transitioning into the next one. I felt like it was just the same formula for everything.
Um, some of it, by Fortress Down, okay, this is what we were gonna do track by track, but I will pretty much say there's a lot of that atmospheric and heavy. I think that's the theme of this album here. Um, I felt Fortress Down had a heavy prog influence, like something like I'm trying to think like not so much like a Dream Theatery, but maybe more like an Ocean where it's very atmospheric, but the heavy parts are just like a post metal almost sound to it. Um, Gemini was the next one I had, very heavy, straightforward. I think that was one of the heavier songs. That was where I said heavy on bass. That's where I was just like, all right, I feel like the bass is just there.
Gemini, it just went like full like club, like right in the middle there. I just felt like I was in a nightclub in the middle of that. Yeah.
um,
Nothing like the knife was just a transition piece, whatever. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't harder to pretend. I wrote down I'm not impressed by any of this.
um,
At one point this was like elevator music.
no, well, it's interesting because harder to pretend was where I felt like there were moments where it sounded like the contortionist. Um, and then they had I don't know if that's Sanskrit or how that's written out. Apologies. The because there was like another transition track right after that, which like, all right, this is kind of a weird placement.
Oh, that yeah, that it was in a language. I don't know what language that is, but it translates out to Athena, apparently.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, that one also kind of had a contortionist kind of vibe to it, but really weird to have two transition tracks right next to each other.
Yeah.
Um, the following track really heavy bass for it again. The bass comes out.
Revenant, I thought it was on the heavier side, but again, I was like, I don't like the production. I thought.
Um, so interestingly enough, I actually felt like the second half of this album was better.
Mm,
All right. The way it breaks, mix between early 2000s Porcumentary and Contortionist. I know that's very specific. If you guys know, you know. Honestly, that was my favorite track on the album. I'm like, okay, if this album was like this all the time, I could do something like this.
mm.
Um,
At least the cleans were good on that one. I'll give it
yeah.
that. I don't know if it was Mansour Brown that was singing on that, whoever was singing on that, but at least it had that going for it.
Um, Meet My Maker, still mellow.
If
Um,
I had a favorite track, it would probably be Meet My Maker.
yeah,
It
it was that was a
s-
close second for me.
slightly better than the others, and it had a little bit of a catchiness to it, so I'll give them that.
Hmm. Fangs was interesting. It was a focused opening. Kind of had a creepy feel, something to hear in a Halloween playlist. Um, the latter, I have steady track that continues the mellow side of the album. That one just felt steady, so I'm gonna just say, it's probably my
It, too
weaker
easy
sign in
going.
the album.
Too easy
Yeah.
going for me, I said. Yeah.
Um, Gifted Every Strength. Very very proggy opening on this one.
Mm.
Swims in between heavy and melodic. There was a small section in there where I thought it was Dillinger for like a whole 5 seconds.
Gifted Every Strength, it's this song was what I expected them to sound like throughout most
Mhm.
of it. And I just groaned at when I saw the length of the song. I said, "Oh, over 7 minutes, almost 8 minutes, in fact." And I said, this was what I was hoping to be, and this is what I've the preconceived notion I had of this band, but it's just too little, too late at this point. By the end of the album, for me.
Yeah, and I can understand that. I actually, like I said, the second half of this album, I was really into it. And again, I want to listen to my headphones because for me, I thought the volume was a little weird, but you're saying the production seemed off.
Yeah,
So I definitely need to go and
I
revisit.
had my earbuds in, and it's just muffly. It's just and it just it doesn't sound clean, and I don't know if that was by design or what, but, it's not what I was hoping the band would sound like. Um,
Yeah. And then I had No Stranger to You, had this 2000. I don't know why I was thinking like not like Deftones, but that kind of same weird
mhm.
atmospheric, ambient, experimental. And I actually digged that. So Um, for me, overall, I definitely want to give this album another listen and actually see what else, see how it compares to the rest of their discography. Personally,
I might have to go back through the rest of through their previous discography because obviously that's what they were playing live when I saw them. They weren't playing anything off of this. Um, that would be my only way of revisiting this band. I said, well, this is not the worst album I've heard this year, but I was not impressed with it. I said, I'll go backwards with this band, but I don't plan on revisiting anything else that they put out later. If anything, it's a bummer. I might be the doomsayer on it, but I'm glad you at least enjoyed it.
I did. I think it was a good find, and I'm going to be spending some time digging through this. So tell us why we're wrong in the comments, guys.
Yes, please tell us why we're wrong. Tell me why I'm wrong. Tell me why Sam is right. However, you may tell us, but please leave us some comments below. And thanks for joining the review realm. You can catch us on most streaming platforms, including Spotify. Links are in the description. If you're watching us on YouTube, thank you. We appreciate you joining the review realm. And as always, do not forget to join the Bedlam.